Were built to replace the steam engines that once hurtled down the tracks between London and Edinburgh, but the Deltic, a type of diesel locomotive, hasn't been seen in active service on British railways for 30 years.
But now it's back, for a few weeks at least. As Tim Muffet reports, it's all because more companies are choosing to move freight by rail rather than road.
But look at the monster Deltic, 106 tons, 90 miles an hour, 3,300 horsepower.
It was a triumph of British engineering.
The Deltic diesel is the most powerful locomotive in the world.
Iconic design, unbeatable power and speed. Deltic locomotives worked the East Coast Main Line from the early 60s to the early 80s. But they were withdrawn from service 30 years ago.
To make Britain's railways the world's best.
So why has this one been brought out of retirement? Well, it's down to this: a boom in rail freight, and the fact that here there aren't enough modern locomotives to pull it.
Locomotives like the Deltic, with its classical lines and tremendous efficiency.
So we've actually got two pistons going across.
It meant rail enthusiast and Deltic owner Martin Walker received an urgent call.
GBRF work increased to such a stage where they needed it like tomorrow. It's down to basically running on a full commercial basis, you know, basically helping the wheels of industry move in the country.
So, a museum piece has been brought back into active service between North Blythe and Linemouth in Northumberland, a site few thought they'd see again. A vintage Deltic back at work.
We had a good relationship with the gentleman who owns the locomotives. We had a shortage of power because of the growth we'd experienced. We knew it could do the job.
It's amazing to think that when these locomotives were first designed in 1955, the Prime Minister was Winston Churchill. Elvis Presley hadn't yet become a star. Who could have possibly have thought back then that more than half a century later there'd be a need for one of these to come out of retirement? The growth in rail freight has been substantial, up 60% over the past decade. It's estimated one freight train removes 50 heavy goods vehicles from the roads, so many consider it better for the environment, and the recent rise in fuel costs has added to demand. Some may wonder what all the fuss is about, but for rail enthusiasts and driver Graham Wallace, the return of the Deltic has been something to savour.
How does it compare to modern locomotives?
You've got to drive it, whereas the modern locomotives have got computers on. This one hasn't got a computer on.
It's the epitome of the East Coast Main Line when I was younger, you know. You know, these things ran from Edinburgh to King's Cross non-stop, you know, and it was fantastic watching.
The Deltic's return is temporary. New locomotives will soon arrive to cope with demand, but its return from retirement has been a success. A brief chance to relive its glory days.
At this rate, the railway will soon be called the Speedway.
Tim Muffet, BBC News.